This video is brought to you by the University Writing Center, a unit of the Department of Rhetoric and Writing at the University of Texas at Austin. You can contact us at uwc.utexas.edu.
Hi, I'm Alice Bott, Interim Director of the University Writing Center. I'm here to talk to you today about ways to use breakout rooms in Zoom to support writing instruction. First, I'll show you how to pre-assign people to breakout rooms if you want to do that before you begin your session. And then we'll talk about some exercises you can use to support writing at different points in the writing process. With Zoom, you can set up breakout rooms randomly once a meeting begins. But if you have particular groups you want to set up, it's better to pre-assign breakout rooms. To get started, go to support.zoom.us and search for pre-assigning participants to breakout rooms. That will take you to a page with a link to directions. Pre-assigning participants to breakout rooms using a CSV file. Click on the link and it takes you to another set of directions. Here, you can download a sample CSV file and fill it out. Here's the sample, and here's the edited version with the emails of the people in my class and the room assignments I want them in. Then you can upload that edited file to Zoom. You can do this when first creating a meeting or by editing an existing meeting. I'm using the University Writing Center's weekly admin meeting, so you can see what this process looks like for a pre-existing meeting. Scroll all the way down to the bottom of the screen and click Edit this meeting. I only need it for this one meeting, so I'm clicking Only this meeting. And then you'll get to the page where you can change the setup of your admin meeting. Again, scroll all the way down, and just above the Save button, you'll see Breakout Room Pre-Assign. Click Import from CSV and browse. And there you can click on and add your CSV file. It may take a few moments to process, but once you go to that meeting, you'll be able to click Breakout Rooms in the menu at the bottom of your screen and enable students to join their assigned meeting rooms. Let's talk about how you can use Zoom breakout rooms to support writing instruction in your online classes. I've come up with some activities to share with you for pairs or for groups in the breakout rooms, and they're corresponding to different points in the writing process. So if students are responding to readings, if you are doing some pre-exercises with them to get them to think critically about readings, or if they're responding to readings for an annotated bibliography, the Believing Doubting game is a terrific start. If they're responding to each other's paper proposals, I came up with a game myself called What I Heard, What I Wonder, that works really well at that phase. And then everyone knows about peer review. I've got two different forms of peer review I want to share with you today for responding to full drafts. The Believing Doubting game is an oldie but a goodie. It was designed by Peter Elbow in 1972, and it's great for helping students practice summary and critique. It really helps them get into the meat of an argument and understand it, as well as step out of that and critique. So to do this game, divide the class into groups of 2 or 3, and first have the students respond to a reading as if they believe it. So some questions you might give them to prompt them are, what does this article say? What does it do well even if you disagree with it? What we're looking to have them do is really enter into the argument and understand why someone might believe as this person believes. Then you can have them respond as if they doubt it. What do you disagree with? And not stopping with what do you disagree with, but why do you disagree? So getting to the level of assumptions and values and the things that underlie disagreement. What I Heard and What I Wonder is a great exercise to help students develop their paper proposals. So I like to do this by breaking the students into groups of 2 or 3, and then one writer explains their proposal to the other listeners. And then the listeners summarize what they heard the writers say. They put it in their own words and feed it back to the writer. And then the listeners explain what they wonder about the proposal. So the first bit is just giving feedback and helping the writers see if they understand the proposal as it's written. And the second bit has to do with moving the proposal forward. They might wonder about the structure of the paper. They might wonder what kinds of things will be covered as subtopics. They might wonder what kind of counter arguments the author is going to have to deal with. And then you repeat this exercise until each writer has received feedback. Peer review is an excellent exercise to do in breakout rooms if the students have a completed draft. And I'm going to give you some instructions on how to set this up and also share with you some questions that can work if you don't already have set questions for your peer review. So before class, have students post to Canvas discussion a link to their paper. Google Docs tends to be a good place to keep it. And you want to make sure that they set the Google Docs link so that the person who receives it can comment on their paper. Explain that one of their classmates will be posting review to their paper as a reply in discussion. Then in chat, when you've got them all together as a class, share a link to a Google Doc that has your guiding questions. Read the questions to the students and answer whatever questions they have so that you're all on the same page. Then set up breakout rooms with 2 people per room, 3 if necessary, and encourage students to take turns reading their paper aloud while their partner reads silently and takes notes. If the student has set up their Google Doc link so that the person who receives it can comment, the reader can highlight sections of the paper and make small notes in the margins to guide their discussion with the person after the reading is done. So after each reading, each partner has a chance to share their own answers to your guiding questions and ask questions of their own to the writer. And students can finish their written responses after class if needed. I found that this is typically necessary, particularly if you have detailed questions you want them to answer. But the in-class section, the part that happens in the breakout room, should really be dedicated to a reading and then a discussion between the students. So if you don't already have set questions you like to ask in your peer review sessions, these are adapted from the UWC's Interactive Peer Review Workshop, which you can find at uwc.utexas.edu/presentations. They're quite detailed and they go over each aspect of the paper and section of the paper. They're mostly chronological, but not entirely. But they really help students focus on the most important aspects of a paper. So the first question asks them to copy the thesis or research question of the paper and rewrite it in their own words. That lets the writer know that they really understood what the writer was trying to get across. The second question asks them what the main claims of the paper are and reminds them that there should ideally be 1 per paragraph. Question 3, does each main claim have evidence to support it? Is the evidence relevant and sufficient? Summarize and explain. This lets them really dig into what the writer is saying and how well they're supporting their ideas. A lot of feedback can happen between the reader and the writer in this section. The fourth question is, has the writer explained how the evidence supports each claim? This gets into analysis. So it asks the reader of the paper to summarize the analysis and to point out when it's missing so that the writer can address that. Question 5, do all the claims relate to the thesis? If not, describe the problem spots and propose a solution. This can be really helpful. Part of why we do this exercise, the entire reason we do this exercise, is so that the writers can really get the audience's view of what they're saying. And the audience is very likely to know if these claims don't relate to the thesis. And question 6, does the conclusion summarize the main claims? Does it answer the so what question? We want to know why we should care about this topic, and that's part of what typically happens in conclusions, so that's why we've included that here. Highlight where this happens and explain why this paper is relevant, important, or useful. Some professors prefer to do a more focused version of peer review. Rather than having students respond to a whole draft, they can ask students to upload just a piece of the paper and then have peers comment on that. So this is good for focusing on one aspect of the paper, and it's also great for you being involved in the activity as it's going on. So first you want to share a Google Doc with the students before class and ask them to paste one part of their paper into it. You decide what part it is, the introduction, the conclusion, a main body paragraph, whatever it is you want them to focus on. And then Second, explain what you want them to look for in the paragraphs. So if it's an introduction, I might ask my students to look for some kind of opening hook, something catchy, appropriate background information for the audience, and a thesis question or statement somewhere in this introduction. And then finally, divide the class into groups of 2 or 3 and let them talk about each other's paragraphs and make comments in the Google Doc as they do. So they're having a discussion, but they're recording comments in the Google Doc as well. And this allows you to be present in all the groups at once because you're present in the Google Doc, and you can see the kinds of comments they're making about each other's papers and make your own as you wish. I hope this video has been helpful. The University Writing Center is eager to work with your students. Have them contact us at uwc.utexas.edu for online consultations.